Are you tired of feeling like your stomach has its own agenda? Like the bloating, gas, or constant trips to the bathroom are running your life? Welcome to the Beyond Bloated podcast, the podcast where we tackle those frustrating gut issues head on, without strict diets or giving up your favorite foods. I'm Carly, a certified gut health coach who's been there, struggling with bloating that made me look 6 months pregnant, gut pain that kept me from enjoying meals, and fatigue so draining it felt impossible to get through the day. Now, I help women like you find freedom from those symptoms and take back control of their lives. Each week, we'll debunk gut health myths, dive into simple, actionable tips, and hear stories from women who've been exactly where you are. It's time to feel confident, energized, and bloat-free. Let's get started. Hello. Welcome back to the Beyond Bloated podcast, or welcome to the Beyond Bloated podcast for the first time. If you are here listening right now today, I would love for you to do me a favor. Go and give this podcast a review. I'm going to read you one for some inspiration. So this was from Goddess Health. Love the name. Down to earth and super informative. Carly is a fantastic host, and I love her podcast, smiley face. Thank you, Goddess Health. That is very kind, and reading these makes me very excited and happy. So if you want to make me very excited and happy, please go write a review on Apple Podcasts, or if you're listening on Spotify, give some stars. I'd really appreciate it. All right, moving on to the real reason why you are here. Is dairy really the enemy? ? If you're listening to this, you probably think yes, or you have a sneaking suspicion yes, or you're secretly hoping no because you love cheese and you want to keep eating it. Am I right? One of my go-to sayings back in the day was, dairy is scary, because it was scary for me and my gut. I developed an intolerance to dairy and gluten at the same time, and every time I ate dairy back in the day, I would be sprinting to the washroom in agonizing pain. Was not a good time. So yes, to me, dairy was very scary. However, I thought, I'm going to cut out dairy and gluten and my life will be fine. It'll be sad because I'm going to miss all this food. My gut issues will go away and I'll just feel so much better. It's not that simple. I did cut out gluten and dairy. I did feel better, but I was not cured. Not at all. I was just avoiding a couple of trigger foods, but there was a lot more going on underneath the surface. Of course, everyone is individual and their experience with dairy is going to be different, but there are some general things that are true about dairy, no matter who you are. So today I am going to be discussing why dairy affects some people, but not others. Why the quality of dairy matters, because not all dairy is created equal. That is a very important point. And I'm also going to provide some dairy alternatives that don't suck, because I have been dairy-free for 6 years. So I've tried them all. I know what's up. And I am going to share that dairy-free product knowledge with you today. So if you have ever wondered whether dairy is causing your bloating, breakouts, fatigue, or whatever else you got going on, stay tuned because this episode is dedicated to you. Let's start off by discussing why some people react to dairy and others don't. So one of the reasons why you may be reacting to dairy is because of a lactose intolerance. It's probably the most commonly known reason. Some people might think that's the only reason, which it's not, but we'll get to that. Lactose is in dairy, and if you have a lactose intolerance, it is because you lack the lactase enzyme, which helps you break down lactose. Fun fact, about 65 to 70% of the global population has some degree of lactose intolerance. However, some populations have evolved to digest dairy better than others. So for example, Northern Europeans have a high percentage of lactose persistence due to a genetic mutation thousands of years ago. It's estimated that only about 5 to 20% of Northern and Western Europeans have a lactose intolerance. But on the flip side of that, populations with high lactose intolerance include East Asian, which is China, Japan, and Korea. They have about 90 to 100% of their population with a lactose intolerance. And in second place is Southeast Asian, which is Thailand, Vietnam, and the Philippines. They are sitting at 80 to 90%. This is because lactose intolerance is more common in populations that did not historically rely on dairy farming. whereas populations with a long history of dairy consumption, such as the Northern Europeans, are more likely to have lactase persistence, which means that they can digest lactose into adulthood. Just a little history lesson for you there. And if you do find yourself in the category of, yes, I have a lactose intolerance, I have some good news. Aged cheeses like cheddar, Parmesan, and Swiss cheese have little to no lactose because the bacteria break it down during the aging process. So many people that have a lactose intolerance can actually eat the cheeses without issue. If you have a lactose intolerance and you just find yourself slugging milk anyway, you are likely going to experience bloating, gas, diarrhea. Those are very common and not so pleasant symptoms of consuming dairy when you do not have the proper enzymes to break down the lactose. The other reason why someone may not be able to tolerate dairy is because of a casein or whey sensitivity, which are the proteins in the dairy. These typically cause an inflammatory response, so they can cause bloating, congestion, skin issues, joint pain. The difference is that the lactose intolerance is more likely to provide an immediate digestive issue. So it's very obvious, you drink milk, you shit in your pants. Whereas the protein sensitivity can be a little less obvious because the symptoms can be delayed up to 3 days, and they can cause symptoms like acne, fatigue, brain fog, and joint pain. So these aren't things that you would obviously be like, yes, I have joint pain because I had dairy. But it's very likely. So look out for that when you are trying to figure out what's causing your symptoms. If you do not have a lactose intolerance or a sensitivity to the proteins in the dairy, first of all, congratulations. Second of all, that doesn't mean you're off the hook. Not all dairy is created equal, as I mentioned at the beginning, and the quality of the dairy that you are consuming matters for other aspects of your health. A little while back, I did an episode on Is Organic Worth It? So if you didn't listen to that episode, spoiler alert, I talked about dairy in there and whether or not dairy is worth buying organic or not. So if you want more details on the whole organic to buy or not to buy, go check that episode out. But I'm going to talk a little bit about it now as well. If you buy conventional dairy, which means it isn't organic or grass-fed or, the fancy labels, it's just dairy sitting on the shelf, that typically means it has more hormones and antibiotics floating around in there, and that can contribute to inflammation in your whole body. And inflammation leads to leaky gut, autoimmune diseases, and a whole other bunch of symptoms that you don't want. However, on the flip side, organic grass-fed dairy is higher in anti-inflammatory omega-3s, lower in toxins, and has to be free from hormones and antibiotics, or else they don't get the organic seal of approval. So the quality, the standard is a lot higher. They have to go through hoops to get that sticker, and it's better for your health. So I do actually believe if you're going to buy anything organic, dairy is one of the things you should prioritize. If you want to up your dairy game even further, you can buy fermented dairy. So yogurt, kefir, aged cheeses are all lower in lactose and contain probiotics, which we know is great for the gut. Some people can tolerate fermented dairy, but not regular milk. This is because the fermentation process breaks down lactose, which is the natural sugar in milk that we just talked about. If you have a lactose intolerance, you're missing the enzyme to break that down. So the fermentation breaks that down for you. And then the yogurt, kefir, aged cheeses, those types of dairy products that are fermented also contain beneficial bacteria, the probiotics, that consume lactose during the fermentation. That means that the final product has less lactose in it than its non-fermented counterpart, which is why the aged cheeses that I talked about at the beginning, cheddar, Parmesan, and Swiss, have basically zero lactose in them. Fermentation also partially breaks down the casein and the whey proteins, which makes them easier to digest. So if you are someone who reacts to the proteins in dairy, fermented dairy may reduce your reaction. Basically, if you have a lactose intolerant, you may benefit the most from fermented dairy because the lactose is broken down significantly. There's basically none left. So if that's your issue and it's gone, you should be able to consume it. People with mild dairy sensitivities, since the proteins are partially broken down, you might be fine. If you have like a crazy sensitivity to the proteins, then they are still kind of there. So it's not completely gone. You might still react. So you might be able to have a little, but I wouldn't be slugging kefir day in, day out. And people with gut imbalances who don't react to dairy could benefit from fermented dairy because you're getting probiotics and that's very good for your gut. So if you can tolerate things like kefir or high probiotic, plain, no sugar yogurt, that's a great thing to consume. But make sure it's organic and test the waters. Don't go hard and then feel sick. Kind of a coincidence that I am recording this episode today because in my one-on-one private coaching program, we have a group chat for all the ladies that are in the program, and we do monthly challenges. So since it is February, this month's challenge is Love Your Gut. So we're all going to incorporate a gut-loving food into our diets for the month and some other things, but I'm going to do it too with my girls. And I said, I'm going to add coconut kefir into my diet every day during the challenge. So I went to the grocery store to get it, and I've had it before and I liked it, but I haven't like made it a routine. So I was like, this is a great opportunity for me to add some more fermented products into my diet, get some probiotics, all that good stuff. So as I was at the grocery store looking for my coconut kefir, I had it in my hand and I was like, I wonder if they have like goat kefir here. And then I was reading the labels and I saw organic, regular cow kefir, fermented, all that good stuff. And I was like, I've had regular fermented cow yogurt before and I was fine. So I said, YOLO, it was a better deal. So I got the 2-liter cow organic fermented kefir. Then I'm going to eat it next week or drink it for the duration of the challenge and see how it goes. And there is also the different types of dairy that come from different animals to consider. So when you go to the grocery store, you usually see cow dairy, and you might notice goat and sheep as well. I've actually seen buffalo. Never tried it, but I've seen that on the shelf and thought, that's interesting. Those are the kind of the typical dairies that we consume. I'm sure a lot of other mammals make milk, but we like cow, goat, and sheep. And there is a difference between them. So cow dairy, obviously the most popular, that has A1 casein in it. And this is more inflammatory for some people. A lot of people react to it. However, goat and sheep dairy have A2 casein, which is easier to digest for some because the A2 casein is more structurally similar to human breast milk. Our bodies are adapted to that more. We are human. A lot of us, when we were babies, drank breast milk. So A2 casein is more similar to breast milk, so it's more likely we can tolerate that, whereas A1 is very foreign and our bodies are like, what the F is this? This is not what we're used to. I myself can tolerate goat cheese. I've even had goat ice cream, goat milk products. Never tried sheep, but I would assume it's similar because it is also the A2 casein. But I don't tolerate cow dairy very well. At least I used to not. I haven't tried it in a while, but hey everyone, Carly here. If you are tired of feeling bloated and uncomfortable, which I know you are, I have something that can really help. My free ultimate guide to bloat busting. I've been there myself, and I know how frustrating it is to try super restrictive diets and expensive supplements without getting results. If those methods were going to work, they would have worked by now. That's why I created this guide to offer you a different approach. In the ultimate guide to bloat busting, you'll learn techniques to listen to your body and eat with intention, avoiding overeating and choosing foods that truly benefit you, tips for proper hydration to support digestion and reduce bloating, a guide to delicious foods that promote a healthy gut and how to easily incorporate them into your meals, and effective methods to manage stress, which plays a huge role in gut health. These simple, practical strategies can make a big difference in your daily life, helping you feel lighter, more energized, and comfortable in your own skin. Ready to ditch the bloat without strict diets or costly supplements? Download your free copy today at beyondbloated.com/ultimate-guide and start your journey to a bloat-free life. Now, let's get back to it. I can have goat. So if you are like me and you react to cow dairy, but you really miss dairy products, give goat or sheep or even buffalo a go. It might just be enough to satisfy your dairy craving, because as I said, I've had goat milk ice cream and it was very good. I mean, I like coconut milk ice cream. That's no issue for me. But the goat was very creamy and you could tell it was actual real dairy. So give it a try. See if you like it and if your gut likes it, more importantly. If we've gotten to this point and you're thinking, shit, I have either a dairy sensitivity or I definitely know cow's milk's not good for me, sucks to be me, not necessarily. First of all, a dairy sensitivity does not always mean a lifelong ban from dairy. Sensitivities are caused by leaky gut, gut imbalances, inflammation, all that not so good stuff. So by improving your gut health, you can heal those ailments and increase your dairy tolerance. I have talked extensively about this in the past. Not that long ago, I did a full episode on leaky gut. Good way to tell if your sensitivity to dairy is caused by lactose intolerance or a sensitivity, because if you have a lactose intolerance, healing leaky gut and all that's not going to change. You don't have the enzyme to break down lactose. Nothing you do is going to improve that, to my knowledge. That's just kind of evolution. When we're babies, we need the enzyme to break down breast milk. When we grow up, we don't need breast milk anymore, so our body stops producing the enzyme. It's the way she goes. In my case, I could tolerate dairy fine for my whole life until I was 24. So that to me indicates that I don't have a lactose intolerance, because you don't typically develop a lactose intolerance that late in life. Again, to my knowledge, that's more likely to be a sensitivity that was caused by leaky gut imbalances, all that good stuff, which I did have. And since I have worked on healing my gut, I am not sensitive to all the things that I was before. So you can reverse food sensitivities, but you cannot necessarily reverse a lactose intolerance. My point being, if you tolerated dairy for most of your life and then now all of a sudden foods like dairy is starting to irritate you and cause symptoms, I'm pretty confident you have leaky gut and that's what's causing the problem. In which case, go listen to my episode on leaky gut, because I talk about what it is, what causes it, and what you can do about it. I won't go into too much detail about it here, but basically, to summarize, you're going to start strengthening your gut lining, bone broth, L-glutamine, probiotics. That's going to help, along with a lot of lifestyle and dietary changes. You want to reduce inflammation. If dairy is causing you symptoms, consuming dairy is causing you inflammation. You do need to remove it, at least temporarily, to get the inflammation down before your gut can heal. And then once you do the healing work, you can slowly start reintroducing high quality dairy. Okay, that doesn't mean you're going to go start stuffing your face with pizza every weekend again. You're going to buy the organic, the fermented, the grass-fed dairy and eat that. Because if you go back to the other shit, you're just going to have leaky gut all over again. Now, in the meantime, while you are working on improving your gut health so you can reintroduce some high quality dairy, you can have dairy-free alternatives that are actually good. As I said, I have been dairy-free for 6 years. I know how to replace it and choose the good options. There are dairy-free alternatives out there that are garbage. For example, if you see an ice cream made with water, don't buy that. It's a bucket of ice. You paid for a flavored ice. It's so bad. But the dairy-free ice creams that are made with coconut milk are delicious. I really like those. So Delicious is actually one of the brands that I will buy on occasion as a treat, because they are filled with sugar. I turn it over and look at the sugar content and I almost die. So I honestly don't buy them very often. If you can find one with coconut milk that has a lower sugar content, that would be great. I don't really know of any brands, to be honest. It's a treat. Dairy-free milk alternatives can be tricky. There are a lot of them out there, all made with different nuts and seeds and whatnot. A lot of different fillers and ingredients. It's hard to pick one. So I'm going to give you the basics. Coconut milk in a can, that's going to be usually good. As long as there's not additional sugars or oils, because yes, I have turned over a dairy-free milk before and it says canola oil or vegetable oil. Why am I drinking vegetable oil with my milk? Why? So canned coconut milk is usually pretty good at avoiding all that additional garbage. Almond milk, cashew milk, macadamia, flax. I've had hemp milk before. Those are all good, again, as long as there's not added sugars, seed oils, fillers, gums. And if you find brands, like I know Elmhurst is a brand that does clean milks, it's usually going to cost you a lot of money. So what I do is I take 1 tablespoon of my almond butter from Costco, which the only ingredients is almonds, throw that in a blender, and I add 1 cup of water, and I blend. And I make myself almond milk. If you want to spice it up, toss some cinnamon in there, stevia, add some vanilla, do what you gotta do. It's so easy. It's so cheap. And that's what you're buying from the clean brand anyway. It will say almonds and water. That's what you're looking for. So just add almonds and water to a blender and do it yourself. I personally don't love oat milk as an option. It's usually higher in sugar and it can be gut irritating for some. So stay clear if you can. Try to stick to coconut, almond, cashew, macadamia, flax, hemp. And again, make it yourself. It's so easy. Google it if you don't believe me. Basic recipes. It'll save you money and time and yucky ingredients that you don't need. If you're looking for cheese and yogurt alternatives, Kite Hill, Miyoko's, I think that's how you pronounce it, and Cultured are good brands. I'm in Canada, and my favorite is actually Nuts for Cheese, for the cheeses, and I like Mason Riviera for yogurt. They have one that is Greek style. It is made with oat base, so I am kind of contradicting myself here, but it has more protein in it than the coconut-based one. I buy plain, so there's no added sugar or anything in there. There's a little bit of sugar from the oats itself. If you want to avoid the oats, then they sell coconut as well, and you can just add protein powder to it, which I do. And again, you can make your own. So I've made cashew cheese sauce before, and holy shit, it's good. And it's so easy. You just soak cashews overnight, and then you add things like nutritional yeast and whatnot. Again, look it up. Lots of recipes out there. And it's kind of like nacho cheese. It's delicious. And any sort of like nut-based cheese I've found to be the best. And then for yogurt, coconut yogurt is great. I mean, it can be a good consistency. A lot of different brands out there. But again, you want to make sure you're getting plain, no sugar added, and avoid the fillers and gums if possible. Believe it or not, I did not have an issue giving up dairy. I was more upset about having to give up gluten than dairy, but I have found the opposite, that a lot of people struggle very hard to give up dairy. And I want you to know it's because dairy contains compounds called casomorphins, and they attach to opioid receptors in the brain, which is similar to a mild drug-like effect. So people are literally addicted to dairy because it acts like a drug in the brain. So this makes sense as to why some people are obsessed with cheese. Like giving up cheese would be the same as death to them. And it's often one of the hardest foods for people to give up. If you feel that way, I understand. You are addicted to dairy because it is addictive, similar to sugar. So what I find makes it easier is to find replacements for the things that you love. So if you are obsessed with nachos, try making the cashew nacho cheese. And please try to have a good mindset about it. Know that no, it isn't going to taste exactly like nacho cheese because it is not nacho cheese. It's cashew cheese. But it can still be good. It can still have the same texture. It still goes on nachos, and all the other shit on nachos is still the same. Do your best to replace things. No, they're not going to be the exact same, but they can still be good. And over time, you will adjust and you'll like it. And you'll still be able to eat your favorite foods, just with slightly different ingredients. If you are still not sure if you should be giving up dairy or trying to give up dairy to see if it improves your symptoms, let me tell you some signs of a dairy sensitivity beyond the digestive component. Signs that you might have a dairy sensitivity include acne, eczema, dry, itchy skin, chronic sinus congestion or postnasal drip, fatigue, brain fog, headaches, joint pain, or stiffness. If you have any of these symptoms, try cutting out dairy for 4 weeks and see if they improve. And then reintroduce high-quality dairy slowly and see if your symptoms come back or if you're good. I know hormone balance is always a hot topic, so I also want to point out that conventional dairy, the non-organic stuff, can contain traces of hormones like estrogen and something called IGF-1, which is an insulin-like growth factor, which may contribute to your acne, weight gain, and hormonal imbalances. So by choosing the organic and grass-fed dairy, that reduces your exposure to those hormones. So I still want to encourage you to give up dairy for 4 weeks if you have any of those symptoms or if hormone imbalance is a concern for you, to see if your symptoms go away or improve at all. But then again, when you reintroduce it, it is important to use organic dairy, or else you're just consuming hormones like estrogen and contributing again to the acne, weight gain, and hormone imbalances. It's all connected, and conventional dairy is not great for you. One last sign of a dairy sensitivity is mucus production. Some people report feeling extra mucus or congestion after eating dairy, or just on a regular basis because you consume dairy regularly. I remember even when I was a kid, before I knew about health and wellness, I was told when you're sick, avoid dairy because it's going to make your congestion worse. So there's something to it. So if you find yourself very congested and mucousy, that could be another sign that dairy is impacting you. So again, try cutting it out for 4 weeks. And before you immediately say, no, absolutely not, I would rather die than give up dairy. Okay, if that is your true honest take, then that's fine. You can do what you want. But think about the symptoms that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. The brain fog, the mucus, the bloating, the gas, the diarrhea, whatever it may be. And if by eliminating cow dairy and replacing it with possibly goat and sheep, or cashew cheese, or coconut milk, whatever it may be, you can still eat the same things. They're just going to taste a little different. Your symptoms go away. Is that worth it to you? If the answer is no, then I'm a little surprised because you're listening to this podcast, likely because you have one of those issues and you're looking for a solution. So if this could be a solution for you, then why wouldn't you do it? And if the answer is yes, I would do it if it helps me feel better, then try it. It's not going to kill you to give it up for 4 weeks and then reintroduce high quality dairy and see how you feel. It's a process, trial and error. When I had my food sensitivities, I gave up literally every single thing that I ate that week because I had a horrific diet and I was traumatized. But at the end of the day, I said, I did this because I want to feel better. And this is what's going to make me feel better. So I'm going to do it. And I have zero regrets. I love the way I eat. And you can too. To wrap things up, I want to just make it clear that dairy isn't inherently bad, but it is a common trigger, especially for women with gut issues. The quality of your dairy also plays a factor in how you're feeling, how it's impacting you. Organic, grass-fed, fermented dairy is going to be the top shelf shit. Not all dairy is the same also. Goat and sheep, and even water buffalo, may be easier to digest than cow because of the A2 versus A1 casein. And if you have a dairy sensitivity right now, it often can be reversed by healing your gut. And great news, I am someone who can help you do that. So if you would like support in working on improving your diet, your lifestyle, get your gut health under control so that you can one day eat high quality dairy again, apply to my one-on-one coaching program. Link is in the show notes. Once I get your application, I'll reach out to you. We'll book a free 30-minute discovery call to see if we're a good fit. If we are, we will work together and get your gut in tip-top shape so you can start consuming that high-quality dairy again. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will talk to you next week. Did you learn something new and useful today? If the answer is a big, resounding hell yeah, do me a favor. Subscribe to this podcast. Even better, toss a rating in there too. It helps more bloated babes discover this show and lets me keep bringing you this free, gut-loving content every single week. And hey, don't be greedy. Share this episode with your bestie who's always unbuttoning her pants after dinner. She will love you even more for it. Thanks for hanging out with me and showing your gut some love. Keep on putting what you learn into practice and you will be bloat-free in no time. Catch you in the next one. Bye!